YouTube Ozic going the Goat House is back with, yes, a way too early 2024 NFL mock draft, something we do every single year at this time, the Sunday right after the draft. So really excited to do this. The main purpose is to kind of get an early look at what to expect, the top prospects maybe to watch in the upcoming college football season. The order that we used is reverse Super Bowl odds. So not my Super Bowl odds. So I didn't predict anything, playoffs or the season with this order. So nobody should be complaining about the order here. The main reason is to kind of take a look at the prospects and what could happen at this early stage here if we're looking forward here. So really excited. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. We have a bunch of 2023 draft content up on the channel, winners and losers for each day of the draft. So 3 separate videos, and then we graded every single pick from day one. There'll be more of grades and rankings this upcoming week. So yeah, join us, like, subscribe to notifications on, follow us on Twitter. Very important, always talking with you guys on there. And then sponsors, they're on your screen. There's also links pinned in the comments. GLD Shop, I have their Micah Parsons chain on right now. He actually rocks the same chain. And then Liquid IV, we have codes. There's links pinned in the comments. So again, the order is determined by Super Bowl odds. I did not create this order. I'm not predicting the season with this order. We're mainly getting to know the prospects here in this video. Sometimes I got people complaining about, you got this team picking there, that you didn't click on season predictions. You clicked on a way too early mock draft. So a couple things here. Again, the Super Bowl odds said the Cardinals have the worst Super Bowl odds, so I have the Cardinals at the first pick right now. And then I am not, with them taking Drake Maye first overall, I am not saying that I think Kyler Murray is going to fail or they will be replacing him. I'm not really saying that. 2 things. I think Drake Maye is going to be the first pick. It's an early stage. I think he will be the first pick. I know there's a lot of people that love Caleb Williams. I love Caleb Williams' play as well. To me, Drake Maye is that next elite, and Caleb Williams can be as well. Drake Maye is that next elite NFL quarterback, Justin Herbert-like, what he was able to do, and the first year starting and how he improved over the year was ridiculous. The arm strength is ridiculous. He's sneaky athletic too with his footwork. He just looks like a natural right away. He would have been the top quarterback in this class. So number 1, I just think Drake Maye is going to go 1. Whether it's the team that gets number 1 overall or the team trades the trades the pick for the house. And then number 2, if the Cardinals do get the first pick, if they do get the first pick, I do wonder if it's something with Murray injury-wise or does he fit this new staff because they are changing the system a little bit. So if they do get the first pick, and he's going to miss some of the season too, so that could be why. But if they do get the first pick, I'll wonder if they would take Drake Maye or Caleb Williams. But that, the West Coast style offense they're about to run, if they were going to look for a quarterback for the future, which I'm not counting on it really, Murray failing, anything like that, Drake Maye would be their guy if they were interested in a quarterback. But this is a guy that, and Williams as well, they would have been the best quarterbacks. And they would have went 1 and 2 in this class. And I like CJ Stroud and I like Bryce Young a lot, but these 2 guys are something else, and they still actually can improve. So Cardinals, Drake Maye, my top guy in the class. I am extremely high. I think a lot of people are on Drake Maye, but I think he's going to be that good. But we got to see his second season still. So I can't wait to watch that. And then so Cardinals are picking twice in a row here. Will this actually happen? Chances are, maybe not picking twice in a row, but the Super Bowl odds has the Texans as the second worst, and the Cardinals have their pick from that 3rd overall pick trade, which the Texans got Will Anderson out of it, which he would be worthy of this pick, and the Texans do have the Browns pick, which we'll talk about in this draft. So it's not the end of the world. The Texans gave the Cardinals their pick, and it may not be as high as 2. Again, I'm not predicting the order here, but Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the best receiver prospects we've seen in some time here, son of obviously Marvin Harrison, and had an elite season last year. Just all around incredible. I mean, a do-it-all type receiver, incredible hands and fantastic ball tracking skills. The body control is ridiculous. Can get separation, can run routes, can play along the outside, can run over the middle of the field. I mean, he's a do-it-all type receiver. I think he stands out more on the sideline, downfield, catching the ball, contested situations. The footwork seems to be good. Again, the tracking ability, the balance, the body control, like all that really stands out the most. So the Cardinals, who are probably going to move on from DeAndre Hopkins, going to be in need of some receivers. Whether it's for Kyler Murray or in this scenario, a guy like Drake May. If they did get a guy like Drake May, do they trade Kyler Murray? They probably can trade him for a lot. So it's just whatever the new staff is feeling. They're brand new. So, but Harrison Jr., he's going to be an elite prospect, well worth the second pick. So pretty good haul the Cardinals are getting there with some elite prospects. Number 3 is going to be Joe Alt to the Colts, the Notre Dame left tackle, super athletic, long tackle. This guy's a sure thing to be towards the top here. Had a monster season for Notre Dame, and he kind of just took off, out of nowhere too. So, I can't wait to watch him this season. The Notre Dame tackle duo is ridiculous, and they are known for kind of, pumping out some of those offensive linemen, obviously. But yeah, the Colts offensive line could improve this year for sure. But, if they are picking in this position, I think Jim Irsay and company would love to get their hands on Marvin Harrison Jr., so maybe they would do what it takes to go up and get him. That's a possibility, but here's a major upgrade at the left tackle position for them instantly. So Joe Alt is another he would be the number 1 tackle in the class that just happened as well. So you did hear some people kind of, as we were getting close to 2023, like, wait for next year. And this is why. You got elite players that, Maye, Caleb Williams would be the top guy in this class. Marvin Harrison Jr. would have been by far the best guy in this class. I think Joe Alt would be by far the best tackle. There was some good tackles, but he would have been the first tackle off the board, and he's still, just getting going too. So that's kind of how good this upcoming class is expected to be at the top. Then number 4, Caleb Williams, got to be the latest he comes off the board. It could be a 1-2 scenario. A team trading up. I wasn't going to do trades, of course, but a team trading up to 2 possibly. But in this scenario, like the class is so good at the top, do teams actually trade away from their pick? This year teams wanted to trade down. They were dying to trade down. Now it's like, will you be able to get a team to trade down for this upcoming year, projected wise? Because the talent at the top, in this case, the Cardinals just needing that, getting Marvin Harrison Jr., would they want to trade back from the second pick, even though a team's going to offer an insane amount to go up and get a guy like Caleb Williams? It's going to be very interesting for those reasons. But yeah, the Buccaneers, 4th worst Super Bowl odds, so they're at the 4th pick. They get the quarterback of the future. And they have Baker for this year, but I think they would like Caleb Williams a lot. Obviously, I think a lot of teams would. Big playability, has some Mahomes-like moments where he escapes pressure, either runs or throws on the run. The way he moves in those situations is a little Mahomes-like. To me, he isn't Patrick Mahomes. He's actually a little more athletic than him, but yeah, Mahomes has got more of your prototypical build to him. And Caleb Williams has a rocket arm too. Mahomes just a little bit more though. But another year from Caleb Williams. And remember, he didn't even start the year before fully. He had to take over for Rattler at one point for Oklahoma. So I'm excited to watch him again, and he can very well. He's got to be the Heisman favorite again. This would be a good fit for the Buccaneers in the battle between him and Maye for the top. It is going to be interesting. It's really going to be about who's picking first, and it's going to be about the system fit there. So I think Maye maybe fits a little bit more of the pro-style offenses, and he's got a little bit more of a bigger body. Obviously your prototypical size, but Williams has got some freaky ability, obviously. So I'm just elite talent at the top here. It's ridiculous for this upcoming class. I hope it kind of stays that way. Hopefully nobody's a letdown this upcoming year. They're so good that I don't think that, for these top guys especially, they're not going to disappoint this upcoming college football season and heading into the draft next year. 5th pick, EMEKA, EGBUKA, maybe the Ohio State big-time separator, maybe Jackson Smith and Jigba for this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. is obviously the top guy, but I think we're going to see big things from EGBUKA here. I really thought about Brock Bowers for the Titans here, because that's a big-time tight end, big-time prospect from Georgia, but they're going to desperately need a receiver, and maybe right now, is EGBUKA, does he give you the top 5 in this upcoming class vibes? Maybe not. I think he'll get there. So this is more of a projection too. I think he'll kind of get there in that conversation. And it's hard to say this now because we don't know the order. We're so far out. But if this was the actual scenario, maybe this could be a trade back spot if they were targeting a receiver like EGBUKA. Here the Titans, that is. So, but again, it'd be ridiculous if I was starting to do trades right now. Number 6, there we got Brock Bowers for the Commanders. Just perfect. They're going to need a tight end for a future. Eric Bieniemy, maybe getting his Travis Kelce here. A little different style, but a tight end you can get screen passes too. He's really good after the catch, and I guess that's kind of similar to Kelce as well for Eric Bieniemy here. So a do-it-all type tight end, just one of the best tight end prospects we've ever seen, honestly, and we get to watch him for another year. So this one I did not hesitate with. This is made, if the Commanders are picking 6, then they can be a pretty good team, obviously. I'm not in full agreement with the Super Bowl odds, but that's not what this video is about. This feels like it'd be the right pick. I mean, he could go the Titans pick before. They got a couple tight ends in there, though. So Brock Bowers of Georgia going 6 to the Commanders. 7, Jared Verse from Florida State, who we thought was going to come out last year. We were throwing him in mocks during the year. Last year, he was a former Albany transfer, and he really stood out right away last year at Florida State. I mean, this is a long, souped-up, athletic pass rusher off the edge. Maybe the Falcons didn't fill that spot out like we thought they could or would. So maybe next year is another crack at it there. Jared Verse would be a really good pick there for them, really good fit. So that one made a lot of sense as well. Is there a guy as good as Will Anderson? Right now, it doesn't seem like it, but I mean, the guys with the upside like Verse and some of the other guys we're going to talk about here coming up, they got a lot of upside perhaps, so maybe they can get there. Still got a whole other year, whole full year to play. 8th pick, Steelers, Kool-Aid McKinstry. If you didn't know about him, yeah, that's his actual name. From Alabama, the cornerback there. He's expected to be a top pick as well. Athletic corner, playmaker out there. And the Steelers, did add a couple corners in the draft that I really like, but they signed Patrick Peterson to probably start this year. He's not going to be around forever. As he's aging, declining, and going to be moving on probably. So they add another cornerback, for the future. Steelers did such a good job in his 2023 draft, looking like a pretty complete roster. Super Bowl odds, doesn't have them too high up on this was from FanDuel, I believe. It's too high up at all, but so adding another big-time corner could be key, kind of creating that elite duo for the future there is what I thought of here. 9th pick, Quinn Ewers from Texas, who, got a rocket arm, and earlier in the year last year, he was looking really good, especially that Bama game. I was so impressed from that Bama game, and I still am super impressed. I mean, the big playability, the ball placement, the arm strength, but kind of the poise and the confidence, he was not affected just from playing Alabama. You wouldn't think this guy, in his first year starting, you wouldn't know it by looking at him. So I love the poise, the confidence in him. And I expected more. It was a little underwhelming the rest of the year, and there was some hiccups here and there for Ewers, but I see it in him. The talent is there. I think everything's there. Everything's there. So he's kind of got to put it together and stay a little bit consistent. This to me, this is and the Rams could be picking earlier in this. Maybe they want to be, to get a guy like Drake May or Caleb Williams. But I can see this as the future of Matt Stafford, the next Matt Stafford there for the LA Rams. I could definitely see it. So I'm still pretty high on him. He's got it in him. Let's see if he can kind of fully put it together. I'm really excited to watch Texas this year. I know they got a couple of other good quarterbacks behind him, a couple of them actually, not just Manning. And he's got some weapons as well. So I'm excited to see if Texas can continue to get this thing back here. Rams 9. I just like the fit there. I like the fit. I think they would be all over Drake May if they're at the very top. Sean McVay would be all over Drake May. And then number 10, JT Tuimolau from Ohio State. This is a big upside guy. I think he's about to break out big time. And he was good last year. It was kind of in moments. The Penn State game was ridiculous, but he's a freaky dude off the edge. He's really about to break out. I think, right now there's no Will Anderson, but Verse, he just got going last year, right? So I think he could take another step up. And Tuimolau, I think he's got a lot of upside here, so I'm really excited about him. And the Bears got a long list of players in the draft. They surprisingly didn't take any edge guys in 2023. They're going to need edge pretty badly this time next year. So there you go. They have 2 picks. One this is their own pick, and one from the Carolina Panthers. And they definitely could they take 2 edge rushers? They could if they need to. But they get a really good one with a lot of upside here from Ohio State. 11, the Patriots take Olu Fashanu, who I actually thought was going to come out last year. He wasn't really a big name, but he was outstanding. He was in the conversation. We were doing mock drafts with all those guys that got drafted, with Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, Darnell Wright, all those guys that just got drafted. Peter Skronsky, and then we had Fashanu in the mix, right in the middle of those guys most of the time in the mock draft. So But he kind of was the guy that just got going. So yeah, he's like, maybe we'll just go back and get some more experience and try to do something special, because Penn State's got a good roster. A couple guys on this in this mock draft actually. So he went back, and he could have been a middle, probably earlier in that, of a first round pick, like the top half of the first round. So, but he should be this upcoming year. I really wanted him. Kind of going into this, I'm like, it feels like a top 10 guy, because he would have been probably top 16 if he came out this year, top 17 maybe. So I really wanted to get him in the top 10, but it's kind of how the board fell here. But he's at 11 here. The Patriots grab him, they could be looking for a tackle next year, and they could be picking a lot lower in this. I think they can. And the division's tough. I think they can be sneaky good though. Bill O'Brien back in there, and they had a pretty good draft. The Bears again. This is from Carolina. Mason Smith, who I can't wait to watch. We didn't see him at all last year. This is just a freaky, big, massive dude on the inside for LSU. A guy that can kind of play, D tackle, nose tackle. I think he's just over 300 pounds. Looking at the guy, it looks like he weighs like 330, but in a good way, not like out of shape, way. Just a big dude. Like, he looks like he weighs more just because he's massive. So I almost want to put him higher in this, because I think this guy could be special. Like, I think he can be like a big time disruptor. It's a little different than Jalen Carter, but like that type of impact. Just freaky good, but we just haven't really seen much at all, of Mason Smith, and he was out all last year, so it's one that I'm really excited about this upcoming year. And I actually thought about another edge rusher for the Bears here, because they could double down. It's way too early mock draft. It's too early to say now. And they did draft a couple of interior guys, but they could still find ways to make it better there. One of the guys they drafted this year could be a starter, like Dexter, and Pickens more of like your passing downs guy, perhaps. So I could see them still kind of needing that interior guy, was kind of my thinking here. But this is a guy that could become an elite prospect. I can very easily see it. So that's one to watch there. 13, another Penn State guy, Kalen King, who could be better than Joey Porter Jr. You could argue already. You actually could argue that. And Kalen King is he's a little more, he's a little in short areas, like a little quicker. The footwork's maybe a little better than Porter Jr. But yeah, he's tight in coverage. I like how he kind of gets downhill, attacks the ball while it's in the air. So that's one to watch from Penn State as well. The Raiders didn't get that corner early that we thought maybe they would, so they're probably going to need one at this time next year. So Kalen King from Penn State made some sense. 14, Dallas Turner. So one of the other big pass rushers here in this class from Alabama. We saw Will Anderson go early, so maybe Dallas Turner's that next guy. And yeah, he very well could go earlier in this. He could end up being an elite prospect like Will Anderson was. For now, right around this range, but more of a stand-up pass rusher. Maybe we thought the Seahawks would get a guy like a starter right away. And they do have some guys. Maybe they're, Nwosu's fantastic, but who's going to be a free agent next year. So that was key here. But maybe a guy like Boye Mafe steps up as well. So that's probably their thinking. But Dallas Turner, yeah, you couldn't let him go past this point here. It'd be a good fit, good scheme fit as well. 15, Jeremiah Trotter for the Giants, Clemson linebacker. This is kind of like your traditional inside linebacker, like downhill guy. Pretty good in coverage too. He had a pick 6 against Rattler, I want to say, this year. So this is different than this year's linebacker that got drafted. Trenton Simpson, who everyone pretty much liked. A freaky athletic linebacker, but he was more of an outside linebacker that in the past played like in the slot. This is more of your inside linebacker, so I can kind of see him going to playing inside in either scheme. But the Giants could be looking for a guy at this time next year, maybe to pair with Okereke, perhaps. We'll see how he works out too. It's a little bit of a scheme change for him, so maybe that's what they could be needing there. So the Clemson linebacker, another one to look out for. 16, the Vikings, Javon Bullard from Georgia, who's more of he's a versatile defensive back. He's more of a slot guy, though, and a really, really good one. So this is kind of that Georgia DB to watch out for this year. Maybe this is the Brian Branch for this year. So not even Georgia. Look at the Alabama guy, because Brian Branch really wasn't a big name before last year. And he was insane last year, outstanding. So this could be that guy that not only he's a kind of a big name right now, not a huge name, but makes more of a name for himself and just ends up being that type of player, like that versatile DB that really dominates from the slot. So the Vikings could grab him. They have a lot of young corners on their roster, so I thought about corner, but slot. I think they drafted Jay Ward, who's kind of a safety / slot guy for that spot. So we'll see how he does. But yeah, that could be something. Could be looking for a quarterback in the future as well. Do they trade up for a guy? Thought about a quarterback that we're going to still have go. Here. I have one more quarterback going. I really thought about maybe 3 more quarterbacks in this class, which could be good. When we get to that next quarterback, we'll talk about those other guys though. But yeah, so we'll see what the Vikings, if they're in this scenario, they could look to trade the house away to go up and get one of those top guys, perhaps if Kirk Cousins isn't extended. They did draft Jaron Hall this year, so maybe we'll see. First, we'll see if they feel like he could be the guy of the future, perhaps. But we will see. That's a later round pick, so not expectations there. 17, CJ Latham, Alabama tackle or right tackle for the Packers. Some thought maybe they can get one early in this class. I wasn't like fully expecting it, in this 2023 class, I'm saying, but they could in the upcoming class. Could be kind of looking out for the future. Bakhtiari still playing at a high level, but maybe. Maybe not going to last forever, but either way, they probably could be looking for a right tackle this time next year as well. So after a really good season for Latham, that is a guy that I thought fit in there at the 17th pick. 18, Cameron Kinchens from Miami had a really good year. Free safety, kind of flies all over the place. I like him kind of getting to the boundaries, so you can kind of, in a split safety. The Saints famous for running 2-man under, having their safeties help over the top. I can see him kind of fitting that. And I think at this time next year, the Saints could be looking for a safety or safeties, perhaps, of the future. So Kinchens made some sense there, the Miami kid at 18. 19, Tyler Davis from Clemson. Feels like he's been there forever, Tyler Davis, but he's a monster, very productive. I mean, it's a guy that can play, A gap or B gap, very disruptive, really good at stopping the run. This kind of gives me vibes of, those old Clemson, not really old, but at all, the Clemson D tackles like Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins kind of fits right in. Maybe not quite, because those guys were ridiculous. So is Davis, very productive, disruptor and impact player. But he kind of gives you those vibes, like he's in that conversation, like the big dudes on the inside. Definitely different than Bruzzy, who's more of your pass rushing D tackle that can move around a bit, whether it's some D tackle or even step outside. Talking about more of the interior guys here. So the Broncos go that route at 19, throw them at D tackle. 20 is the Texans, and this pick is from the Browns. So the Texans don't have their pick from the Cardinals because this year's draft, and then they got the Browns from Deshaun Watson. So Xavier Worthy, so they could be looking for another receiver perhaps, and they keep the kid in Texas there. Worthy's an interesting one because 2 years ago, after his freshman year, I'm like, okay, this guy is the next elite, top. He's going to be a top pick. We're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. Not quite that, but right behind it. Last year, I was a little disappointed, a little inconsistent. You can still see the big playability. We can still see the big time speed in the downfield ability. He did have some bad drops, I know, especially, kind of concentration, on the deep balls. The Alabama game especially, I think, stood out. Ewers was giving some dimes in the end zone. So I was a little underwhelmed this year, actually. Maybe more than a little. And he's still good. He was still good, but maybe a little more than a little underwhelmed. But he's got it in him. We kind of knew it when he was coming before he even played a snap that he was going to be special. So I think he can get back on track here. I think everything didn't go downhill at the second half of the year. But after the Alabama game, I expected a little more from Texas, I know they're a little beat up for obviously a quarterback for a little bit there, but I don't know, they should have beat Alabama probably, so I kind of expected some of these top tier guys to continue to play like top tier, but they're still young, so I'm excited to watch them this year. 21, and then here's the next quarterback, maybe a little bold, Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' boy from Jackson State, going to play at Colorado. Obviously, Deion Sanders going to coach them over there, so I'm excited to watch him against some better competition. The Pac-12, I think, is a good spot. I think he could be super productive. He was insanely productive at Jackson State, absolutely dominant. 40 touchdowns, very little interceptions. Ran well too, but he was a pass first guy. Everything looked good, but he played very weak competition compared to the D1. So Pac-12 was pretty tough last year, so we'll see. We'll see how it's going to be a good test. It's going to be a good test. Another Pac-12 guy that I really thought about sneaking in the first round. He's a little inconsistent last year, but I do like his Cameron Ward from Washington State. He was a transfer incarnate word last year, and he looked pretty good for Washington State. He would have some hiccups. He would have some bad moments here and there, but really good moments. The arm strength is, like the build. You like the arm strength downfield. So I thought about him here. Another Pac-12 guy in the first round. And another Pac-12 guy, Michael Penix, who had a standout year from Washington, was better than... He was good at Indiana, but wasn't like in the conversation of like a top even day 2 or before pick for the future. And he kind of looked that way in Washington. I still think more likely he won't be a first-round pick. I think Ward has more of that NFL upside for him to have a better shot. But I'm still kind of on the fence there. I want to see more from him. But Sanders... Go back and watch Sanders. Like, you give him the knock that he played weaker competition. Well, first you're like, all right, the numbers are ridiculous. But then he's like, all right, he played weaker competition. But you actually go watch him. You see the talent. And he was supposed to be somewhere better than Jackson State. Obviously, way better. He was just there because Dion was there. But he can put the ball downfield in the ball placement. I was like, when I watched a little bit of him, like, the ball placement was surprising. How the touch on the ball. It was very impressive. So that really doesn't have a whole lot to do with competition. Of course, if some big-time pass rushers are in your face, that has to do with competition. That could change some things. So I'm excited to watch him this year, but has a lot of upside. Dolphins could be taking a quarterback next year if Tua stays healthy. If it's plain simple, if Tua stays healthy, they will not be looking to take a quarterback. So I thought this was kind of if I was going to throw him in here, this was a good spot. I kind of wanted to put Cam Ward in the first round somewhere too, but couldn't really find like the best spot there. Braelon Allen from Wisconsin goes to Chargers here. The Chargers at this time next year could be looking for that running back of the future. And Allen's my favorite. There's a good group of running backs here, but Allen is my favorite for the NFL. Classic Wisconsin running back. That next great Wisconsin running back. A lot of great ones coming out of there. I mean, he's just so good. I mean, like across the board, you're looking at every category for a running back. Super elusive. And he faced a ton of stacked boxes last year, and he was still dominant. And it's Wisconsin. I'm excited about Wisconsin. They're going to look a little different. They're going to look a lot different going forward. So they're going to pass the ball a lot more and a lot more effectively. I know they had some brutal struggles with quarterbacks in the past, but it might have been like the system, because we even saw Jack Cohn look like way more of a passer when he went to Notre Dame, even, and that was a couple years ago. So it's a good change going on there in Wisconsin. It's for the better, and it could open up things for Braelon Allen. Less stacked boxes, and maybe he catches the ball a little bit more, so that can help his case for the NFL there. 23, Denzel Burks, Ohio State corner, getting back up to the top here. We haven't seen super recent ones. Denzel Ward is a former Ohio State corner there that went very early, but Denzel Burke at 23, we thought the Jags might be able to take cornerback a little early. This year they did not, so they could be looking one for one next year. 24, Jerzon Newton. Illinois had a really good defense. They had quite a few guys drafted this year, but here is their disruptor from the interior, a defensive tackle from Illinois. Yeah, he was a stud. Shedding blocks, does a very good job shedding blocks and getting in the backfield. So Lions, our team, we thought maybe we can get a D tackle a little early. I know they really liked Broderick Martin, it seemed like, but could be looking for another one next year. Pretty complete roster for the most part, so it was a little tough to pick out a position for them. I thought Newton was kind of one of the better guys available. So for this way too early scenario, so I threw him in there to Detroit, who seemed to be pretty high up on the Super Bowl odds list. I was surprised by the difference between them and the Vikings on the Super Bowl odds list here. So, so big season upcoming here for the Detroit Lions. 25, the Ravens taking Cooper DeJean from Iowa. We saw an Iowa corner get drafted this year, Riley Moss, who I think might be used more as a safety or in the slot, but he was a very good corner for Iowa. And you got one that's actually an even better of one here, big-time playmaker, really good in zone coverage. The Ravens were always known for man. They're trying to shift more and more towards adding more zone, so we thought maybe they can take a corner super early in this draft. They didn't, so here's one for them next year at the way too early stage here, 25th overall. 26 going to be Mario Williams, a receiver, and the Packers added some pass catchers for Jordan Love, so we'll see how that goes. They added Jaden Reed from Michigan State. They added a couple tight ends as well. But, overall, the receiver unit can still be approved from, and they could be looking for a guy next year. Mario Williams going to take over not really take over because he was already doing his thing, but for Jordan Addison as the lead receiver. for USC. I'm surprised he's not talked about more. I mean, this guy's got downfield speed, like ridiculous speed. And I really like the body control and the ball tracking, kind of those mixed together. I was really impressed by that down the field. Yeah, it could be like a little bit better version of Marvin Mims from this year's class, who was a Lincoln Riley. Obviously, Mario Williams goes with Lincoln Riley over to USC. Was a Lincoln Riley guy as well, and I liked Mims a lot. And the Broncos traded up in the end of the second round. It was a good pick to get him. So I think it could be like a little bit better version of a guy like Mims, perhaps. Yeah, he's a little on the smaller, shorter size. I think he's got a good enough build to him, and that's kind of what the receivers are today. Addison was also kind of, the smaller side. He's thin, so Williams might have a little more weight to him, actually, than Addison, but might be a hair shorter, too. But big playability down the field. I'm surprised he's not kind of being, I mean, it's really early, but being talked about more as like a top-tier receiver, because I like his game a lot. 27, the Cowboys take a running back. They might need a running back this time next year, and hey, might grab that Ohio State running back, future Zeke here, and TREVEYON Henderson, who's, I like him because he's a home run hitter, but he's got some power to him as well. So I do love that. The Ohio State does have like a duo over there. So, how much they split, things like that. So does that affect the future draft stock, I suppose? But Henderson's a stud. So I like him at the end of the first round here. The Cowboys get the next Ohio State running back, for that franchise. 28, Blake Fisher. We talked about Notre Dame's left tackle, Joe Alt, who's, I think, a clear-cut, sure thing to be an elite prospect in this class. The other one is very solid as well, and Blake Fisher on the right side. It could be a late first-round pick. Big body guy, obviously. Like prototypical size, kind of what you're looking for here. Those Notre Dame tackles are really good this upcoming year. So a tackle, an offensive line to watch there. But the Bengals definitely we could see them in need of a right tackle at this time next year with Leo Collins' situation. It's kind of still to be determined. So I thought this is a really good fit here. I actually really liked Fisher for the 49ers as a fit as well. But I went with Graham Barton, physical tackle from Duke. Kind of a bully of a guy, but we see him kind of get downfield and make plays as well. At times, he kind of gives me some guard vibes. I mean, again, I didn't watch a whole lot of Duke this year, but kind of gives me like an upside at guard type of guy. So I could see that as well. I just could see him in the 49ers offensive line, that situation there, either playing right tackle or because that's probably what they need, or guard there. So I did really, really like Blake Fisher for them. Yeah, maybe because it was Notre Dame guy replacing Notre Dame. Mike McGlinchey was who they lost this past year. Maybe that's why I was kind of feeling that one. But yeah, so they get that offensive lineman there, and it's good to see the 49ers picking in the first round. 30, Malik Nabers from LSU is another next big time LSU receiver. Had a big time season this last year. Really took off. Maybe we expected a little bit more of Butte, who the Patriots end up getting, but. Yeah, LSU should be pretty productive again this year. Should be pretty solid, so I'm excited to watch them. Brian Kelly in his second year, but Nabers could be, a big-time LSU receiver. Could he, a lot to live up to there with that one. But, yeah, the Bills could be looking for, they added that kind of that tight end / receiver in Dalton Kincaid, but could they be looking for another receiver? Will they be able to pay Gabe Davis moving forward? So that was my thinking on that one. 31, I thought it was fitting to give the Eagles a Georgia Bulldog. I didn't really force it, but I thought maybe they could be looking for a guard next year, depending on, obviously, Kelsey's going to be his last year, and then Juergen's going to be playing guard at the end to this time, or is he center? So I thought guard kind of made some sense. Xavier, big trust from Georgia. There's a couple offense line from Georgia that we're going to keep an eye on here that almost can flip him with some of the other guys, but whether it's guard or tackle. But I was mainly looking at guard here. So Xavier trusted the Eagles at 31. And then 32, the Chiefs went with a corner here. And they got a number of guys in the defensive backfield. But I like Tony Grimes here, former North Carolina corner. He was kind of on everyone's radar as a freshman. I mean, he was standing out big time as a freshman. He's going to go over to Texas A&M. Pretty well-coached defense over there. And, so I'm excited to watch him. I think it's a better, what's around him is going to help him play even better, kind of live up to that height that we saw, because earlier in his career, I think we thought maybe he could be a future top 10 pick. So watch out for a guy like that to be getting back in that conversation, perhaps. So I definitely wanted to keep him in the first round range here. So Grimes 32 to the Chiefs. So yeah, the point of this video is a lot of it's just for fun, but kind of just getting an early look at maybe what we're expecting and maybe what to watch for the college football season for sure. And as I'm talking about these players and as I'm talking about college football, I wish it was right around the corner, but unfortunately it's really not. But yeah, so this is always fun to do now. And, see maybe a year from now how many guys of these guys actually go in the first round. And we'll do more of these throughout the NFL season, and then a lot of them, in the pre-draft process, like always, of course. And maybe we'll get started on them a little earlier this year. I'm actually hoping in the free time in this offseason to actually start watching the 2022 season tape on some of these guys that I did not. I was a little late on the tape last year, so kind of get an early jump on it. That could make for some fun times there. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. We're always talking with you guys on Twitter as well. Link pinned in the comments for that, and our sponsors. Anything else that you're looking for, recent videos, or you can just go to the channel, check out those recent videos. You won't be disappointed about them. We got coverage from that 2023 NFL draft, a lot of good stuff, and definitely more of it to come here as we're just past it. So that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.